Is everybody going? Is everybody going, Spud?
Everyone's on. Everyone's going. Yes. Let's do it quickly. Double speed.
We're on free Zoom because Tommy, as usual, makes a mess of things. I put in a password wrong, and I got locked out of the Zoom account, which is nice. That's handy. That's handy,
look,
isn't it?
It's grand. Look, I'm not going to make fun of you. I've gotten locked out of my bank. I don't know how many times, and had to go into the bank, do the walk of shame, and they're like, "How did you get the password wrong? We texted to you."
Yeah.
I don't know, because numbers aren't real. That's why. That's why. There's no such thing. The number one doesn't exist, because if you keep halving between 0 or 0.9 and 1, and you keep halving it and halving it and halving it and halving it, then you never get to 1. So fuck you and your numbers.
That's
you know?
Plato's student came up with that one, isn't it? I can't remember his name.
Is that right?
That's it. Yeah, it's one of his things. Yeah.
Oh, I saw it on that. There's that new Netflix thing that's going around the non-duality people. Beyond Infinity or Beyond? I don't remember how it's called. It's fairly new.
To Infinity and Beyond.
It's good.
All right.
I remember what it's called, though.
Are we allowed to talk about Netflix, given that everyone wants to cancel Netflix at the minute? Literally cancel Netflix.
But didn't they? Well, as soon as they changed their mind on America, then everyone stopped giving out. But like other countries, it's happening. It's happening in Canada.
Yeah, it's in Canada, isn't it? Yeah.
Canada. I don't know if it's done here.
If they brought it into America, I thought they did. I don't know. I have literally stopped all interaction with the world about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, so I don't know anything. It's strange though, given that. So I give up Reddit, which was my only source of world news or any sort of outside my own actual life. But there's still things that trickle down, and I can't really work it out. Like, because on the Discord, we were talking about the train derailment thing, and I hadn't listened to any news, hadn't watched anything, none of that. But yet somehow I still knew that happened. And I couldn't work out at all, how did that piece of information get to me? I still can't. I have no idea, other than when it was brought up, goes, yeah, I heard about that. Well,
I need to cut this person out of my life. Who was it?
Who was talking about that? And it's like a secret guy. It's just an invisible shadow comes up and goes, there was a chemical spill in America. It just goes away into the distance again, and then out comes up again. There was some earthquakes in Turkey. Just gone again. It's just, I don't know, the bad news ghost. It's like the opposite of Casper, the friendly ghost. It's Crispin, the bad news ghost, who comes up and just tells you things. Yeah. I tell you, I don't misread it as much as I thought I misread it. That's interesting.
I have the name. It's called A Trip to Infinity.
All right, okay.
Eminent mathematicians, particle physicists and cosmologists dive into infinity in this its mind-bending implications for the universe. Ooh.
All right.
It's very good.
Is Black Science Man on it? He's usually on those type of things.
No. You haven't seen him around much more because he's kind of fiddly with the lady folk, allegedly.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, right. So his story's going to end well. That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's like your thing of when someone's picture, particularly if it's black and white, comes up on Twitter or in any of these social media feeds. Oh, is he dead? Is he a pedo? Which is
dead or pedo? That's it. Yeah. My home county came up on it once and was like, oh no.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Wexford, dead or pedo?
Was it or a priest? Which could be both in that case. Of course, I'm sure you're all very shocked by the news that Dave Navarro has left Jane's Addiction, it seems, and has been replaced by Josh, who was removed from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm sure you spent a few days feeling sad about that, did you?
Yeah. First time hearing it, to be honest.
And Larry Mullen Jr. has left U2. So, wow, that's a bit sensational. He's not doing.
He's not doing the Vegas. They're doing a residency in Vegas, aren't they?
Yeah, that completely sounds like, oh, we're in contract, we can't get out of here, and you're in hospital, like getting something done to his back, whatever. But I don't know. If you're like, the whole point of like the Vegas thing is you go see the band, and then the guy who started the band isn't going to be there, you know. But Rick Beato's not happy. Did you see that? He's not happy. He's not happy about anything. Poor chap.
Poor Rick.
He's just like. He's a big U2. He's a big U2 fan. Like, I mean, I like U2. I know you don't particularly care about them, but
I don't mind them.
Yeah, but he seems to be he knows everything. But that's that. If Rick Beato didn't get angry every at least once a fortnight, what's the point of his channel? Then?
Poor Rick. The more popular he's gotten, the less he likes music.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
But sure, everyone's like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That happened to me. It happened to you. You know, well, I never got popular, but it's like the more stuff you're pushing out, the more like, geez, I have to come up with something to say.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's like, but that's the thing, isn't it? Like, particularly with like any kind of social media or doing podcasts or videos and stuff like that. You go like, okay, what am I going to say this week? And you go, I don't have anything to say. So, what do you do then? And I think a lot of people go, I'll just start a row with someone. That's always good fun. Yeah, I'll just give out about something or you say something like, Peter Kingsley. There you go.
6 minutes. 5 minutes.
6 minutes. 6 minutes. Not bad. It's not a finest time, but it's,
no.
I suppose you should tell everyone we're doing these monthly rather than weekly, fortnightly, or whatever. That's kind of plan.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm sure they.
All right, just ignore what I said. Well, I just my kind of read on it is that if we could get one out in February and then one in March, so that you're kind of giving yourself enough leeway if that it's life gets in the way and you go, when are you available from work? When when does my massive depressive disorder allow me to actually do anything? And so once a month. We've something important to say. If we feel the need that we have to inform you about something, then I'll probably do it in Discord rather than the podcast.
Yeah. But it's like, how do you make a podcast where it's like, believe nothing and do everything yourself?
Yeah.
Or believe nobody. Maybe not believe nothing. No. Yeah. Believe nobody and do it yourself. Yeah. Well,
thanks very much for coming to this episode.
Yeah, goodbye.
See you next month. Where it'll be more the same. Yeah.
Should we do the AI thing?
Yeah, this is amazing. Thanks to Jason Mandel. I kind of feel like I should be just calling him Nuggin because it feels like I'm giving away a secret every time I mention his real name when I Rumpelstiltskin. So
You're
Jason,
doxing him, yeah. No, dox people.
A lamp in the underworld.com, isn't it?
Yeah.
He is the master of all things tactical when he talks to two granddads who do a podcast. And
I have no idea what he does beyond about half the time. I just those words are in English, but together, no.
Yeah. I know individually what they all mean, and by the end of it, I'm smarter. I feel maybe. So he put together some sort of he did some computer thing where he took all the things we've ever said and told the robot to learn it, and it came out surprisingly not racist. It's not usually what happens with AI stuff that you put all the stuff in and then it comes out and it hates minorities or something.
Oh my God, why am I coughing so much? Oh God, let me drink some incredibly hot tea and maybe that'll help. Oh, it's too hot. Ouch. Oh, sawdust is gone. Oh, tears in my eyes, everything. Right.
So we took every single transcript of TaSTA, and I did. That was the bit I did to this. That's the height of my contribution to this project, where I just took a file.
Where did you get them from?
Well, you see, I had them all
from YouTube or something.
No, so I had them all the videos downloaded when we were swapping stuff over from the thing, my channel, to its own thing. So I had it all downloaded, and in that, when you download it using that JDownloader thing, it takes the transcript as well. So I just had to search and bang in. But as anyone who's tried to follow us on YouTube with subtitles, it's probably not the most accurate, giving our accents. And I like that in this AI version of us, I do say an awful lot. I think it's quite accurate, but not as much as I actually do in real life. What do you think is the best way to approach this horror story? Should we just read it? It's long enough. I think the second half is better, but I don't know. There's some.
It's not that long.
Okay, well, we just do it. And if you're not if you're not interested in this, why are you listening to this podcast? This is what we do. So TaSTA, according to an AI bot.
AI bot episode 1.
Okay. Spud, a story now. Two potential horrible places.
Well, you see, what's his name? The ghost.
Music. Music in the back.
When Tommy was painting his name last.
Spud, he was kind of like, he was a similar thing that we watched, the sigil. There's a couple of stones and stuff like that, and it's like,
I just kind of have some sort of stuff.
I was all going to say this thing about it. In the way, it's the law of attraction is sex. That's a true story. And absolute, and I think it was better off, but I was like...
It's meant to be brilliant.
It's the best.
One of the things that I talk about is the Buddha, which is going to interest a couple of people.
The Irish hang out there. And you're just like, oh man, I was getting a bit better. That's just the end result of it.
It's a reference to it as well, and I suppose, is that the best way to see that?
Well, that's the thing in the morning. The other thing that we're meant to do with the world.
We want to show the world that we get you. You know, so there's the thing, we are going to do it and let them turn up.
When you can just sit and be grand, you know?
There was no definition of the devil. We were talking about the star. It's the response of the divine. There's this whole world, whatever it was about. The whole thing is the best thing in a sense.
Being the best thing makes it better than most.
And he seemed to like the old times, but I was expecting more.
Who?
The one I've seen on the other side.
I can get him in the show description.
That's awesome. There I was in the room, and there was a character there. It's like what it is to know about everything.
True. But I don't mean that. I would know what it's like. I don't think we are there yet. Transcend to the nice new place. Have a chat with me.
Do you know you can have books of the angels or whatever? And it's the thing that you do that gets you to the new stage. It's like a thing that you know only you can see, and you will kind of go, well, what the hell?
What I thought was that the podcast interviews are kind of magic.
Thing is that it's a huge kind of thing of that way.
I was watching a big thing, and I was trying to think, but there was this the Shining and a half static that could be part of the experience. When you see the new age of Christmas, all the stuff that goes back, that goes with that life, you know what I mean? I think it's a reflection of people who are talking about the Egyptian world when the Book of the Law was a thing.
I heard that, and I was like, he's so smart. And he was like, what's in the moon? The things that are in the moon. And I had an interview with a shadow.
What's the name of that thing?
It's a community that we didn't know. It's a community that we didn't know that I have in my head. And all that kind of thing. But it was good, like, you know, a really good form of the universe that you have to be.
That stuff is coming back then. The stuff that he has to say, Black and the Secret Chiefs. That's the way I took it.
You can see the good in meditation stuff, but it's like, you know, it's the same as other stuff you can do.
Well, that's the most important thing we're talking about. The secret stuff.
Well, the big one is direct and not a secret to you.
Bye!
Bye!
Oh, amazing. It just goes shows that AI isn't that accurate because it didn't spend at least half the time trying to go, what's that word? What is that thing? What is that word?
Trying to pronounce Oberus. Oberus. And I know why you get that wrong is because, like, the American audiobooks you listen to, they say they make it an extra syllable.
Yeah.
And British English is Oberus. It's one.
But it's like, you know, the aluminium thing? Yeah. And then I was shocked to learn that they're actually spelled differently, so it's not just a pronunciation thing. That's been shocking. Yeah. So that's the end of one of life's little annoying. Yeah. Oh, it's just a different word that means the same thing.
Yeah. AI though, what's your thoughts on AI?
Well, the kind of thing is, I think it'll probably accurately do a representation of, like, say, a certain music or paintings, as it does. But it's definitely in its infantile state, but it's only going to get better. But I think one of the things that, in one sense, might be a benefit from it, in that if it'll take away art as a product, you know, that it's because then it doesn't have the kind of tangible value anymore because you can just make something that looks approximate to it. So then art will become what it used to be about, which is about, you know, a personal creative outlet. So and then which AI can never take because it's your personal creative outlet, it's your way of doing it. So even if you're still doing music that a computer can do, you know what I mean? Like it's still you're getting something from inside you out, and it's more like the kind of therapeutic value of that or whatever. Which art, I suppose was for a while before it became a product, before it became a thing of value. So if you take things out, if you remove value, if you remove capitalism from art, I think that might be a good thing in some ways. How do you feed yourself when you're an artist and you can't sell stuff? I don't know. They'll have to sort that one out. But it's interesting because there's obviously something going on, because here in Ireland that they're doing this trial programme for the basic income for artists. And it started at the beginning of the year. Sadly, I didn't get into the main group. I got the €350 a week, which, Jesus, that would solve so many problems.
Lovely.
And fair use. But instead I get, I think, £600 once a year for 3 years or something if I fill out forms to say, what my life is like without £350 a week. I was like meant to come in January. Didn't come. Yeah, and then it's now moved into Q1. So that's definitely July. On Ireland. But to come back to what I was actually wanting to talk about is that they sent an email out, which was a bit, I felt, what kind of response are they getting to the questionnaires and the surveys they're doing, because it was all about, look after your mental health. Here's a list of suicide places. Here's some things. Here's some counselling. Here's people you can talk to and all this. And here's also we set up a cinema. Jesus Christ, Tommy's brain. We set up a meeting, an online lecture, that's about bullying in the workplace, in the art workplace. And I go, wow, so that's interesting that the first formal email that came out from them is about mental health. That's obviously the response that people are giving to the artistic community. So, so it'll be interesting to see come back to the AI thing, how that plays out, because it might reveal that it's probably been used an awful lot more than I think it's been used. In that, so, I was looking up something the other day, and this was those websites that end up where you just know their SEO or word farms. They're just, they've taken a lot of things. That's probably been AI'd for a while. Like, I know there was a friend of mine who actually did that as a job, but when I seen the stuff he does, it doesn't read like that. It reads like an actual, human or an actual essay. But it's like when there's a load of kind of stuff that sounds a bit, I suppose, like Google Translate or something. It's approximating something, but it's just not how it is. But
a lot of those review sites and like recipe sites, they're all a lot like that.
Here's my apple tart. But before that, I want to talk about my granddad. He hated apple tarts and the internet at the end.
And the English.
And he was English. It was very strange. He just didn't like anything, definitely. So what do you think? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I like, some people have asked about the images that I put on the blog, and I get all them from Midjourney. Midjourney's pretty cool.
You pay for it though, don't you?
It's $10 a month and as many images as you want, like, and it's fun because you can spend a while just putting in mad stuff and getting some cool stuff out of it. But then when you want something specific, it can be a bit harder. You need your tags or your input has to be fairly spot on, and I'm not good at that because I don't have that artist type of brain,
Yeah, but, and it seems though that it's not even, it's more like an engineer's kind of, or a designer's type of brain. When you see some of the tags, it's like, I would never thought to say that way. I mean, I understand why it's been done.
Well, there's plenty of websites out there now where you can reverse the process. So you get an image and you put it into that, and that'll spit out what it thinks the keywords are. And then you put it into your own thing and you get something similar-ish, So that's kind of a good one. But like, I don't know. I think the search engines will still will figure this stuff, or they are figuring this stuff out fairly quick. And if you're using AI generated text, I think you're going to get penalized for that. Rather, like they want, or people want to read original stuff rather than stuff that's cobbled together, kind of thing. I think.
Yeah, and I mean, and the Google algorithm is like its own AI, I suppose, at this point. But it's pretty accurate. Like, I mean, you know yourself from using WordPress and trying to, at some way, do some SEO, that there's things that if you do, you are never getting shown on Google. You know, that black hat stuff that, you know, if you put in certain tags and all of this kind of stuff. So it's if you can recognize that kind of stuff, then it's definitely going to recognize.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know.
But I mean, like, some of the stuff is fun. Like, one of my mates sent me something yesterday. He was playing around with one of them, and he has 3 inputs, right? And I'll only read one of them. Mm-hmm. But he says, summarize the first paragraph of the Bible. So it does that in normal style. And then he wrote, rewrite it in the style of a drunk Dubliner. And then it comes back, and it's pretty funny, right? But then he says, more drunken. So I'll give you this. Listen up, my old pal. In the Big Bang, or a beginning of everything, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was a right state, no shape or nothing. And it was blacker than your pint of Guinness on a moonless night. And then the Holy Spirit came along and things started to liven up over the waters. And then God bellowed, let me see some light, damn it. And just like that, there was a blinding flash and the whole bleeding place was brighter than a Dublin pub on Paddy's Day. And God looked down and said, now that's what I call a bit of crack me bio. And he split the light from the dark and called it day and night. And that's the story of how it all begun. So it is. Launch it.
I'd read that.
It's really good.
I would.
It's really good, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, so I can see like stuff like, you know, Waterford Whispers News, getting a lot of stuff from that. You know, like, but yeah, again, like same with the image stuff. I mean, it's great for if you're trying to do concepts or whatever, you know, and go, what would, I know, spaceman Bart Simpson look like? Or whatever you think. And then you take, and then you do it. You know what I mean? Yourself or whatever. You know, you don't just take that image. I can see it as being brilliant in that way, in the same way that 3D models are great for reference, you know, Unreal Engine that I use for Turbine Syndrome, all of that stuff as a tool, rather than it's like doing it for you. You know what I mean? Like it's like, I mean, I'm sure there was the same argument when the first artist pulled out his his ruler and went, I'm going to draw a straight line with this. Has anyone got a problem? Yeah, I have a fucking problem. We've been drawing lines freehand for millennia.
Yeah. So it's like when photography started, you know, not everyone, but like artists hated photographers, you know, because it's cheating. You know, you're not making that, and you're just taking something, you know. So
it's exactly that. And I mean, photography, like it's amazing. You know, I mean, like, could you imagine life without it? Now you can't really, like, even down to how it, then photography influenced art is huge, and that, you know, with photography, you have stuff like where people's heads will be cut off or they're out of frame and all that, and we kind of get used to that image. That was never in art, you know. It was always, you know, golden ratio, everything had to be perfect, whatever. And then you start seeing that happening in art, where there'd be pictures of this famous one, I can't remember who it is, because I think he's impressionist, but of this like flamenco dancers, whatever, but their heads are cut off, their arms going out of the frame, and it's like just a direct kind of response to photography that would never have happened. So I think kind of you have to embrace all of these things rather than get worried about them, because they're going to happen. So, I mean, you know, what's worrying going to do? So, like, it's that kind of thing in reality transfer, you know, like, what's the advantage here? Or the Michael Caine thing. You can see that. It was around Instagram for a while. It's very good. It's used the difficulty in acting, where it was saying that if he was coming out onto stage or whatever, and someone had put a chair in his way, he's like giving out, and the director said to him, well, no, use that then. Whenever it comes out in your way, rather than getting annoyed about it. It's like, so if it was a comedy, fall over the chair. If it's a drama, pick up the chair and throw it. You know, take the bit that's your obstacle and make it part of your thing. So that's, I think, my approach to AI. I wish it was better. You know what I mean? I wish you could, like they obviously train Midjourney on a very particular style of art. You know, like
that's the thing with me as well.
Sorry, go on.
That's the thing with me as well, because obviously I work in journalism and words and stuff. So like
and things.
I can see it being useful for like some of the articles that we would do, where we're like basically we're kind of copy and pasting stuff about horses, and we're not really putting any input into it. Like, it'd be really useful for that, but for like original stuff or interviews, no, it's not going to do it, you know. It's not going to be good enough.
It's like doing it. There's kind
especially for interviews, because like it'll never kind of call out someone on that, and you know, it just kind of goes on for the next question kind of thing, rather than drilling down into what someone has said.
Yeah. Like an interview, although it might ask a question that a human interviewer wouldn't ask because they'd be scared or something like that. There's a good one about AI when it came to, what's that, Go, isn't it? That's the oldest game in the world, the Chinese thing, but Go. And so anyway, they had a whole thing where they got an AI to watch every single Go game that ever existed ever or something, and then played the world champion in Go. And halfway through it, the computer makes a move that is totally legal and within the rules, but is bad sportsmanship. And so the guy, the world champion or whatever, isn't expecting it. And so he loses out of it. And it's because the human element, in a sense, has been taken away. It's like in, say, football, if the way you give the ball back, if there's been a particular foul that, and someone has kicked the ball out to allow a player who's been injured thing, the computer wouldn't do that. It would take So that's interesting, because it's like, it's not against the rules. I'm not under any obligation to give this ball back to the other team, but everyone does, apart from a computer. So,
there's a danger in it though. Like we've seen it on Discord ourselves, people building their own bots and stuff and kind of giving them sentience. That's
the thing I found about when I was getting into AI first, and I plagued the Discord with an ever increasing morbid AI. It kept going to death very quickly. But even when I was using that like Midjourney and stuff like that, and I was trying to get it in that way to be sort of like an oracle or a divination, or reveal something to me that isn't revealed. And it never does it. It's very literal in that if you go, what is the secret goddess of Dublin or something like that, and when you see the thing you go, all right, so it took secret and it took Dublin and took goddess and it put wings on the spire, right? Okay. you know what I mean? So it's like there's nothing in what you would want, in a sense, from a kind of woo point of view. There's no woo in it at all. Maybe that'll change, but there's no spirit to it, there's no soul to it, or in how we would talk about it. Although maybe that'll change, and even if it does though, it'll be just an impression.
I suppose the thing to kind of wrap your head around is that, right, so you feed something into it, like my mate there with the drunken book of Genesis, and it spits out something and we think it's good or funny because we haven't predicted what's going to come, and that's kind of a magic thing anyway, because you do something, you want to get something, you don't know how you're going to get it, and you give away your kind of agency and you're waiting for it to happen, and eventually it happens, and yay. But the thing is that with, like, if you believe in magic or spirituality, then it is another agent that helps you, or a non-duality thing where it's just you don't recognize yourself. But with AI is that, like, if you did sit down and study it for long enough, then you would predict exactly what they were going to say.
Yeah.
Whereas with, spirituality or magic working, no, that's not. It's the opposite of that. Like there is something else at something else at work.
Yeah. In life thing. Yeah, it's but it probably will get to a point where it can fool you into thinking.
Mimic it.
Yeah,
it already does fool people. We see that, sure. I think it. I don't know. I'd be wary of using it in a spirituality, or I don't really do magic anyway, but a spirituality sense. Well, I suppose I do. Like if I told Agate the stuff I do, she'd be like, yeah, that's magic. But like whatever. So I wouldn't be one for using AI with this kind of stuff. I really wouldn't, like, because you're just like I say, you're given it's just going to if you sit down and think about it logically, then you're going to be able to predict eventually what it's going to say, So that's not what you want, because you're looking for another kind of thing.
The thing that I find that's probably going to be the bigger change, and the thing that's going to really affect us, is the deep fake stuff. Because that's it. That's the end of video evidence. Gone. Completely. Unless there's a way of being able to blueprint it. But like, they're going to be able to get past that too, So you're kind of
There's got to be a way. It's kind of like, if... I don't know, like you hear a song on SoundCloud, you can go to SoundCloud, press F9, find the MP3 track and download it. And with deep fake videos, I presume that's going to be fairly easy to do as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That, like, I think they're bringing in a law. The EU are great with all this stuff. In fairness, they're bringing in a law that whether they can do this or not. That it has to be in some way watermarked.
But it would be like, you use the other, you don't use Adobe, but I know in Adobe you can go dive really deep into the settings and you can see like all of the internal code that's in the video that is kind of like what do you call it? On Getty where there's an image.
The meta tags.
Watermark. Metadata.
Yeah.
It's watermarked.
Yeah.
Really is what I'm trying to say. So I presume with all this stuff there will be a watermark which will be able to tell you, no, this is fake. Like
with Photoshopped image, you can see the processes you can do that. You can look at an image and you can see how they're different than that. But my point with that is that that's going to get better. They're going to get. People know that's a problem, so they're going to work on that.
Yeah.
But even like say with the SoundCloud thing and music or whatever, if you use particular samples, like even ones that you've paid for that you're allowed to use, all of these things, not in any kind of illegal way where you've used a drum or the snare drum from Born in the USA or something. Although you can use drum sounds and drum kit, drum beats because that's not considered copyright in the way keyboard melody thing. So to say, I wouldn't chance it. But even at that. When you use them, because there's a big thing with like companies like Splice and LoopCloud that people are using them and putting them in songs as they're allowed to, and then other people are using them, putting them in songs. But whoever did it first, YouTube counts as the, and its algorithm finds that and then deletes the other one and says, no, you can't use that because that's copyright material, even though they're both freeware. I think you got caught with something like that at one point.
I had this, my old Comedy Cast jingle. Yeah, I had this, I used this kind of smooth jazz kind of thing. And someone else had used it in a released track. A South African DJ, music producer, and lots of my videos were getting taken down. So eventually, I got in touch with the record company. I says, "Yeah, look, I'm using the same sample as this fella. So like, he's using free samples, I'm using free samples. What's going on?" So eventually, they said, "Yeah, grand," and
stopped.
It was all okay after that. But like, they could have like just ignored me and said no.
Absolutely. It's particularly in YouTube
because like he would have been making money. He's a proper professional musician producer. Like I was nobody,
Yeah, but you have people now who, as soon as a new sample comes out, say on Splice or whatever, that they immediately upload it to YouTube on their account, so they own that. Even though they don't own it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To all intents and purposes, to do. But all that stuff, and then movies with dead actors and all that stuff. We're not far away from, but far enough. Some of the like CGI in movies, it's not as good as it thinks it is. It really isn't. Like you can spot it like instantly. Although I always do think there's one particular scene in Star Wars, one of the Star Wars ones, where Ewan McGregor's getting thrown around with a rope thing. And the bit that I think is CGI is not the CGI bit. The bit that I thought was real is the CGI bit. So I always kind of go, well, maybe I'm not as astute when it comes to these things.
Didn't your man from Superbad, what's his name? Jonah Hill. He CGI'd him.
Oh, his kiss.
Shifting a girl or something.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Well, they had no chemistry, which means she didn't want anything to do with him. Or maybe that's unfair. Maybe she's a particularly
an actress. Maybe he didn't want to kiss you. Oh.
There's probably not a lot of that going on that you don't really know, where people not in the same room together that are in scenes together. Like that definitely happens, but like there's like, sure, look at Superman's moustache in the DC film where he comes back, because Henry Cavill had the moustache from Mission Impossible and he had to do reshoots, so they had the computer generated it out.
Really? I don't know.
Yeah, and like, I mean, they didn't do a good job. So I want to talk about Spud's blog post about a vision he had recently, that the reluctancy at the beginning of it to talk about it, which I think is always interesting, because you think people think you're mad. What's your thoughts for who?
Well,
is your mum reading your blog? Like, is that what you mean, or do you think that Tommy's going to read this and think I have my head up my arse, or who is it, or is it the nameless kind of others?
Besides the nameless others. Actually, my dad called me out one time on something, and he's like, "I don't read it. I don't care what you write or what you do." And he's like, "But
I don't like your son." So.
Somebody, I don't know how it got me. Uncle the priest, he read one of them, and I don't know which one. So I presume I'm going to get an earful off of him when I go home tired and next. But I'm like, lads, 40 odd years old, get out of my shit. Like, I don't. It's that's what it is. It's I don't want that kind of hassle. It's just like, right, you see what I've written? That's what I'm saying about it.
Yeah.
Your comments it doesn't matter. That's your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, and you're willing to. No, that sounds bad. Actually, that sounds bad. Actually, if
No,
it
I don't
was
think it
like
does. I don't think it does at all.
no, but if it's a stranger and he's skeptical and he wants to talk to me about it, and I'll talk about it and I'll be open about it. But when it's in a family relationship, there's baggage there on both sides, so you can never really kind of be objective and talk about it as honestly as you can, because people will always try and trip you up or stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's what I don't want.
I also think that the family thing is like, it's slightly different in that if you wrote this post, right, passive aggressively, and then put it in the family group on WhatsApp and have a read of this, it's fuckers.
Yeah.
I think that's very different from, I'm doing a website where I talk about things that happen, and I've never mentioned it to you or whatever.
No, but to take like what's the weird thing is that, like, when I talk to people about the subject, like me and you have spoken about this many times. It's kind of like, no, dude, like, the only person who needs to give you permission on this is yourself. So, dude, why are you holding yourself back? And like you're saying, the thing, it's a confidence thing that I've always had. I'm not a confident person really, and it's just it's putting your head above the parapet. What is that phrase?
Yeah,
above the pulpit.
Yeah,
and you're saying, hey,
no,
I did something. Look at me.
It's not crabs. Something in a bucket. Something about flowers. So, I don't know, something like that. Isn't it? Like, yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
And as well, it's kind of like I write the blog, and obviously it's great when people read it and there's a good reaction to it and stuff like that. But just that you have to remind yourself, actually, I'm writing this for me to get my thoughts together on it and kind of make sense of it, and then hopefully I can hammer out an ending. I changed the ending on this about 10 fucking times, so I did. Couldn't get it right. Not get it right. And eventually I did. And so the way I see it now is just right. So you're writing these things to make sense of it for yourself and to share it with people who are interested. If they're interested, grand, cool, we can talk about it.
Yeah, but I'm very open about my selfishness around everything I do with regard to it. Like that, it's me first, because that's the whole point of Adventures in Moo Moo. But I think in that there is a kind of an obligation then not to proselytize or moralize or whatever. It's like there's great pains when I do too, to the point that I kind of ruin good paragraphs with bad language, where I'll always only ever refer to myself and never to anyone else. Because of the reasons strictly that we've been talking about, that I am talking about myself, and I have no idea what other people's experiences are. And also, because I was putting together the book collection of the Adventures Movie, the blog posts over the years, and I was kind of going through it, and it essentially was me going, no, I don't believe that anymore. So I kind of put that to the side and go, maybe I'll just rewrite the ones that I like or whatever. But it's like I don't even agree with myself half the time. Like, how could I possibly speak for other people? And I did find some people, though, when you're reading it, and it's kind of, I'm trying to work out what it is about certain people writing or books that I don't feel attacked is not the word, spoken to, or spoken at, that thing, whereas where other people I can read all day and disagree with them, and it doesn't have that kind of emotional thing. And it feels, what I find is that underneath some people there's a kind of a manipulation that's kind of going on, in that it's not really me sharing my thoughts with you, it's me trying to make you believe what I believe. And that kind of control, manipulation, there's a bit of darkness thing in that, which I don't I get very quickly. And I mean, there's any number of people who may have been mentioned 6 minutes into the podcast who does that. And of course, not alone. It's a big thing in spirituality, in that kind of stuff. Whereas some people who, like, say, I don't know, let's take the name that came into my head, Brad Warner. Well, I have a lot that I disagree with him. I never feel like he's trying to make me believe what he believes. He's just telling me what he believes.
Yeah, I agree with and I agree with you there.
And so go, all right, same with Harish at moments. he has moments, but I don't overall have that kind of him. And so it's like, that's a thing I very much try to do in my own writing. And I mean, it sounds like I'm going to say, and Spud, I find that in your writing. So stop that. No. And I don't, but like, you do talk in more broad senses, because you say we and you and all that kind of stuff, because you're a normal person who doesn't have an issue. and you're a journalist who knows how to write and all that kind of stuff. But even in that, it's not there. So it's more than just the language used.
I'm not trying to convince anyone.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And actually, someone who was talking, the guru I mentioned, you know who it is, but I won't dox anyone. Yeah. He said something interesting about a previous article I'd written. It was one about I had a nightmarish dystopian vision of the future kind of thing. And he gave me some good advice on it. He said the one thing that you shouldn't have done in that article was that the way he ended it, you kind of said, you kind of brushed it aside as, well, this is just a dream and it might mean nothing. Right? And so this was the Peter Kingsley thing mentioned in my first paragraph, was that when you have these experiences, they're yours and you can share them, but don't change them and just give it out. So that's what I did. So I went through who this guy was first in the article to give an idea, and then gave you what happened, you know. So yeah, I thought that was good advice, and it's good advice for anyone who has these things too. Is that have them, they're for you. Write them down, make sense of them, share them if you want to, but then you don't need to
sell them, embellish them.
You don't need to sell them. You don't need to package them, and you don't need to. What's the word I'm looking for? You don't need to hammer other people's heads with it, kind of thing. You know, it's that it's that thing of this is your truth. It doesn't mean it's anyone else's. You know what I mean?
There's a really good thing I picked up from Gordon Might years ago when he was talking about divination. It's in that divination tarot course, whatever, and he's talking about always speak the truth of what the card says, or they'll stop telling you the truth. You know, to not sugarcoat us, to not try and make it into something else. To, just that's what it's saying.
Yeah.
Because you might think something. It's the same with a vision. Same with any of these things. It's like, say the death card comes out, whatever. It's never that. Apart from when it's about death. But if you tried it, you come out and you go, well, this is definitely about death, and you go, oh well, sometimes death isn't about death. It's about new beginnings, and you're lying. Clearly you should go, this is probably the end of something, or when you pull out the depleted and you go, well, it's not all bad, it's probably all bad. Or the depleted and the desperate, Tuesday might be all right. Just to be, to not to be in honesty with it, and there's a great line in Our Things with Black, one of the ones, and I think it's the one where you do the channel and whatever, and there's brilliant, and we're talking about, God, there's so much in those things. You could probably write a book, Spud, if you're ever going to write a book. But he's talking about you were in your Ramdas period, and you're talking about his teacher was talking about honesty or something like this, and the paraphrasing clearly, but Black says that the only thing to do is to be honest in the very moment of the thing that happens. It's not that. You can, being honest in the very moment can look different from your overall view of what honesty is. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing of sometimes stealing bread to feed your kids is okay, even though stealing's not okay, and it's one of those things. Yeah. But in that very moment, it's the most honest thing to do. And Black was saying that's the kind of thing. So in the moment of the vision and the blog post and the thing is to be honest in that, and God, let everything else look after itself. And I think that's my main, and you're certainly an honest person, but I think that's my main, always wanted to be about Adventures in Woo Woo, was to always be honest, good or bad, and I'm way easier at being honest about the bad stuff than the good stuff, because I have a kind of a thing that if I talk about good stuff, it's taken away from me. That's my issue.
What did he say? That's the jacket you picked, wasn't it? He said,
that's you can take it off. It's a bit warm there, little Tommy. So yeah, I think, because there's so much dishonesty in spirituality. Jesus fucking Christ. For something that pretends it's the truth and the way, the light and, goodness, and think, God, there's so much bullshit and egos and lies and that stuff. Taking something that is personal for you, say, could have universal appeal, or universal help to other people, whatever that word is that my brain doesn't understand at the minute, but not turning it into a fucking religion or something, or turning it into this UPG.
I have seen the truth and the light.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, so this
give
God,
me €500.
Yeah, this God came in a vision to me. Well, maybe a God. He may be part of my brain. Does it matter? Ultimately, I don't think so. And he told me something for me, and it might be good for me right now, it might be good for me for all time, but it might be an ultimate truth, whatever. And then you go out and go, well, also, actually, Stephen, you need to believe this too, because this is it's just like that's the line. That's the line for me, anyway. You know.
Yeah.
And
for me too.
Yeah.
For me too.
But then the question is, how do you become a teacher without doing that? You know, because we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, whatever, talking about, you know, don't believe anyone, do your own thing.
Well,
that's a short course. You can't sell that on Udemy. You know what I mean?
I suppose my thing on it would be that, like,
excuse me.
Okay, so I have this thing with Vajrapani. He's a Buddhist deity. He's known as the protector and guide of Mr. Buddha himself. And like, I'm not Buddhist. I mean, I like reading Buddhist stuff, but I like the Advaita Vedanta stuff more.
Yeah.
I like that branch of Hinduism far more. But it's that like, okay, let's say I'm talking to someone and they have a vision of, I don't know, Saint Teresa or something like that. It's that like, okay, well, what you're looking at really is what does she represent? You know, in my thing, what does he represent and what's he telling me? Sorry, what's he telling me first? And then what does he represent? In your vision, then Saint Teresa tells you something. So what she tell you, okay, take that. And now look for what she represents. But they can both be in the same thing. I don't see any reason why they can't kind of work in one bigger cosmology, whether it's Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, whatever, Christianity. For me, it doesn't matter, you know. And but like you say, like if I was a teacher and someone came with that thing and I was like, no, it should be a Buddhist deity that you're looking, or what would even be worse? It would be if you said Saint Teresa came to me. Well, Saint Teresa, well, actually, in Buddhist term, that would be Muhammad Buddha. Do you know what I mean? And that's this. I don't like that stuff. I think they whatever happens to you is as relevant to you. Your experience is as relevant to you as mine is to me, and they're both as relevant as each other. That's what I'm trying to say.
The criticism of it all can be quite grating, but I understand why it happens because you know people are trying to, in a kind of correspondence, bring out your 777 book. How can we find something more? But like, I mean, should we know? We had one of your other visions where you thought the guy showed up and then told you his name, and then we spent a week trying to work out who he really was.
Exactly.
He told you his name. What's the issue? I'm Stephen. All right, okay. What do you think Stephen's real name is? Stephen.
Another issue with me, Tommy, is this kind of confidence thing, because it's kind of like, you know, I have read a lot of books now about mystics and religious figures and all this stuff, and it's like, well, you kind of feel that, okay, well, I'm going through similar stuff. Like, don't get big-headed about it and think that you're something like them. But then, like, also paying attention to what I said there a minute ago, that, like, well, my experience is just as relevant to me as theirs was to them. You know what I mean? Like, Buddha sat under a tree for 3 days and had all these mad visions, and a religion came out of it. You know, I'm not looking to do that. But it's that, like, but it's finding.
Neither was the Buddha, in fact.
But like, what I am looking for is the same truth that he was looking for.
Yeah,
do you know?
But it's the thing. The danger with doing the opposite of being big-headed about it, whatever it is, you know, and being, you know, it's the spiritual imposter thing, you know, where you go, who might have this kind of stuff, whatever. It's also being dishonest. But it's I think. Be honest in the moment about it, you know, that what we just said, but also it's the conclusions you're getting from it. Like, you can go, right, this is great, but what does that mean about me? It doesn't mean anything about you in that way of how your relation to the world or the other people in the sense of specialists or chosen one or stuff like that. And that's the kind of trap, because we've talked about it ad nauseum, but it's like you can very easily fall for that, you know, that you're not like, these are the roadmaps. Here's what should happen to you if you do this type of things. Here's what does happen to you, you know. And then some people, if you're not aware of it, or even some people who are aware of it, still go, oh, I've had this experience. That means something about my specialness. You know, rather than that's just what should happen if you do this type of thing. There was a couple of people, I'll not name names, but they're, you know, YouTube people, not people I actually know, who say have awakening experience, but say they're the greatest, biggest awakening experiences that any human has ever had. And first of all, how the fuck do you know?
How do you measure that?
Yeah.
How do you measure that?
Like, I mean, you can have a shitty awakening experience, and if it's your first awakening experience, it's going to feel like it's the biggest thing that's ever happened to you.
Those things that are those things that are for sale in B&Q and Woolies, you know, the laser measurers. Is that what they're for? Is that what they're for? You put it up to your head.
Put it up to your aura.
Put it up to your head, and it says bing, 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 bing. Bodhisattva, level 1.
Yeah. But yeah.
No.
Yeah. Or just the artist from ages ago that we were talking about with his ruler, the first ruler. And he's going, yeah, these are actually, I got it because I had an awakening and it was just measuring. But yeah, but it's the tough one because, you know, you have to be honest about the things that are happening to you, good or bad, and you have to not pretend they're not happening to you. But also, it's like, you have so many people who have had these experiences who then claim something about them. You know, that you're more, I think, worried about that I'm not claiming anything out of this, but I'm
yeah. That would be it. Yeah. I'd be worried about people putting words in my mouth that, okay, maybe I might have written it, but I think you might be misunderstanding me here, or else I haven't explained it properly. Yeah. You know? But yeah, no, having people but then again, you know, some people will call me batshit, and that's okay. That's all right. I can live with that.
Is that something you experience though? Like, or is that something you're hoping doesn't? Like, is it an actual thing that happens in your experience? Has anyone ever actually called you batshit over something you've written on the blog?
Well, not to my face. Or to me.
Well, we have the private channel that you're not invited on in Discord where we're just talking about it all day. That's funny.
Yeah, there's plenty of them, I know that. No. So yeah, you're scared of nothing really, aren't you?
Well, I mean, there is that other thing, and because you know, when people say, "Oh, don't worry about the fool you made yourself at the wedding," because everyone else is just worried about the fool they made of themselves at the wedding. That's bullshit. Everyone is talking about you. Every single person is talking about the fool you made of yourself at the wedding. So that's the thing of people too busy concerned about their own things. No, they're not. The first thing they'll do is talk about someone else to deflect their own thing. So yeah, it's but like. Then it's useless because you just know that it's, you know, okay, I made a film.
Oh no, to be honest, like the reaction to my stuff is very positive. You know what I mean? People, strangers writing to me saying, "That's great. I had something similar. Can we talk about it?" Fuck yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Do you know? And or else, you know, there's long-standing supporters who get in touch as well with positive stuff. So yeah, no, I'm afraid of nothing really.
But I understand, because I mean, I totally understand the need of the opening paragraph to, or whatever, maybe the second paragraph, just going, listen lads, I'm not mad, right?
Yeah.
I'm not, just keep it in perspective, because not really because of what I think you've written, but because of the general kind of nature of people who write about these things have, from experience, shown that they're incapable of not falling for the chosen one specialist, which is, you know, it's part of it, you know. It's definitely it's on the roadmap. I am the chosen one. It's right there. It's usually at the beginning. A lot of people don't get past it. But there is that I am not the chosen one trap where you just think, you know, the spiritual imposter thing. It's just a balance. It's fucking. Why isn't it easier? You know, just if someone could just come down and maybe give us a book with rules and and. You know, how we should treat slaves, then, I mean, it would be so much easier if, you know, women are, you know, second-class citizens and that they have to burn some doves at the church when they have the period. I mean, if someone could just come down and write one of the most horriblest books in the world ever and make a religion.
One thing I got thinking about after I wrote it was that, like, well, I kind of touched on it a few minutes ago, was that, like, actually we have, you know, thousands of years of experience of people talking about their dreams or visions and other people picking them apart and finding meaning in them, as well as the person who had it to. So I'm like, you know, why do I care? It's a blog that's going to be written by 100 people. Like,
yeah.
Do you know? It's kind of like, no, this is we've done this all the time. It's fine to write this stuff, you idiot. It's grand. We've a longer tradition of this than probably anything else ever.
Yeah.
You know,
other than making beer, we've done that long.
So you're grand, you know.
I think and the thing of, like, the more people talk about it, the less taboo it is. The less kind of, you know, it's just like, all right, you know, so what? I had 6 of them last week, or whatever, you know, or you know, it's a thing. And but it's like the next person then will find these that they're not going insane or they're not whatever. It's like, all right, this is the thing that happens, and that's perfectly fine or whatever. But yeah, it's good. And like apart from that, the kind of the thing around it, the content of it was quite interesting as well. What was shared was like, I mean, there's some good stuff there too, which I think is applicable to whoever wants to apply it to. Like, it's not Spud, that thing with your mother, you know.
So put it in the show descriptions there. Show description, Tommy. People can read it.
Yeah. Also,
they haven't already.
I assume by the wording of your previous newsletter, you're going to do it at the beginning of every month. Is it like, so it's a recap of everything you did in the month?
Yeah. My newsletter is just going to be a recap. That's it. My newsletter is just going to be a recap and some updates on probably woodwork and stuff like that. Whatever I'm doing. Because I prefer you. I know your approach is different. You put something new in the newsletters. Yeah. Which is probably a better way of doing it.
Well, I don't know. It's just what I'm doing. My approach is to write 7 novels and put it in a newsletter. So much so that the Gmail has to resize it when you open it. It's really annoying. Yeah.
So talk about your stuff now then. So what's this Neophyte thing? What was the need for it? Or?
Well, I mean, there's a number of over the years people have kind of said, what about just putting the text on a card, you know, for people or whatever. Because, well, people can do that themselves if they really want to, like. But or just put the text over the actual 47's card itself of what they mean. And he goes, well, I don't like the look of that because it just looks like you've taken an image and you've put text on it. And there was a couple of people who did it and showed me. I was going like, that, you know, I understand why you like it, but I particularly don't like it. So if I was going to do something like that, I wanted to have its own kind of look and look like it was meant to do that rather than just something you tacked onto it. Because I think it is kind of useful. You know, like particularly like say when you get the Tot Tarot or some of the other ones, and you know it's rather than just 2 swords, you know, whatever. It's or 3 swords. It's sorrow is written at the bottom. You have a kind of an idea of what the card's about or whatever, you know, or rune. You know, the swords are a lovely section of the deck to, you know, really bring out the niceness of the planet and the living experience. So I just kind of also like the idea of having the art kind of in a kind of a more old style engraving type version of it, you know, like something from the Strand magazine, you know, the old Sherlock Holmes kind of looks. So I rejigged the art, put it together, put the things on it, and came up with this idea of having it like a learner's deck. And then Caffel from the Discord, he came up with saying, why not calling it the Neophyte deck? I goes, I will.
That's smart, yeah.
Yeah, because it could be if you have the learner's deck, and kind of puts, you know, you're putting off people who aren't learners, you know, and like at least I know Neophyte means pretty much the same thing, but there's kind of less of a thing around it where you wouldn't feel bad about using a deck if you choose to. Like, I mean, who knows if anyone wants to, you can release it and people go, yeah, that was a terrible idea. But the response has been pretty good to the stuff I put up, so that's going to be out. I think next week for patrons first, because, you know, without whom none of this is possible, and then general release a couple of days after. So get on the Patreon, send me your money, and but there'll be a discount for patrons too, because that's fair, right? That's like, I mean, the thing I often find with doing stuff on Patreon is that it often feels that I'm more, rather than rewarding people for supporting me, I'm kind of punishing people who don't. You know, that's my kind of Catholic guilt feeling of that. If you offer something to people, you kind of go, oh well, but so you won't help us out unless you pay. That's capitalism for you. That's not my fault. Don't reward people who do support you. But I try my best to do as much as possible to. I mean, you can use the entire 47 for free completely, so I can't really do any more than that. But you very nicely proofread it all, so it's all good to go. So if there's any mistakes on it,
it'd be my fault. Yeah.
Blame Spud. When I was putting them together, I noticed a mistake in the grimoire. I was going, oh Christ, 20 million people proofread that grimoire. It's a comma where there should be a full stop, but I mean it's enough to. Oh come on! Surely there's some AI thing, a bot that could. That's the real kind of beauty of AI. Stuff like that.
You think I need to stop clicking that. You think, but no, something always gets through. I was reading Valis there not that long ago, and I found 2 mistakes in it. Yeah, I was like, lads, you know.
Like Grammarly's
then again,
great.
I suppose. Then again, it's stuff like that. It's never been out of print, so they're not allowed change it, are they? I don't think so.
Oh yeah, that's how James Joyce's family are getting to keep Ulysses, under to keep changing enough of it every time the printers that it becomes a new version of it or something.
Is that right?
Yeah, you have to change 250 words or something. I don't really know.
Okay.
I know on Amazon, if you change 10% of it, it has to be considered a new edition. That's why I had to do it.
Mad.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's to stop. Say you wrote a book called "I'm Not Spock," and then updated it and called yourself "I Am Spock," which is a true story. That it probably should be a separate edition. You fundamentally change your mind about something. There,
yeah. Probably could see that. All right, yeah. And there's dice coming as well. Yeah. How did you work out the how many dice?
So there'll be 7. So there's two empty spots. So
right,
it's going to be like the blank rune in runes that didn't actually exist. Not that how much of the runes is true. Very little of in magic context. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It came out. I don't know if people are going to buy it. It's quite dear to do it because Gamecraft put up their prices there not that long ago, and like everything's quite dear. The world's quite dear. Jeez, how's anyone surviving in this climate? The ads on the radio. Finesse listened to the radio in the morning, and it's all like energy crisis. Everyone's fucked. It's like, oh, come on. It's the first thing in the morning.
They're just the ads, not the news.
The ads. No, that's the ads. Like how to survive by not using electricity at all. It's getting very close to that. I literally can't turn anything else off. What do you want from me? That's it. I'm on the bear things. And I'm still like, something 300 units less than this time last year or last bill. It was still 400 quid there. So
that's nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah. How did we get to that? How did I get to moaning? That was interesting. The dice. Yeah. So it came in quite dear, and so it's going to be like, I don't know, maybe $50, $45 to sell them for 6 dice in a tin can, and I personally wouldn't possibly pay that, but I'll put it up, and if people want it, they can have it. Like, I mean, I'm not going to put it up to make money off it because I've announced it or whatever, but you can do a limited edition.
It's kind of cool, though.
It is cool, and I do definitely want my own. I will have my own, but
I'll buy them as well because I think they're. I like the chance that's in it.
Yeah, and there's also going to be
dice,
because of the nature of them. There's going to be certain combinations that can never come out. So there's going to be a personality to it because like. Whatever ones are on the one dice can't come out at the same time. So there is going to be a certain feel to it that I'm interested in seeing what it'll be like. In the way that the top deck is negative, and not necessarily negative, but it's like going, here's the story.
It's harsher.
It's harsher, way harsher.
Yeah.
And then you pull out something with flowers. It goes, oh no, the deck doesn't always mean death. Sometimes it means top deck. It means death. Everyone's dying. The end of the world.
I wonder, would there be any more other uses for it? Because, I don't know. I never played these Dungeons and Dragons games, but you could put in a 40 servants thing there, and suddenly you have the power of the composer. But then you'd have I have the power of the librarian. Nerd.
Actually, in D&D, the power of the librarian would be awesome because then
of course it would. Yeah. Of course it would. Yeah.
There was someone who was going to try and use the deck in a role playing game at one point, and our meeting's going to end in 10 minutes. Grant, 10 minutes. And I just kind of, I felt no. I did, it was quite early on when 47s came out, and it was at the beginning, there was loads of people trying to take it in a sense, or to use it and stuff. And I didn't in the end, but I think he did play with it at some point, as a test and it seemed to work. I don't really know how that would work exactly, but he ended up having to do his own deck for it as well. But I think there's not some way of kind of, it's the wrong word, but that kind of stuff, if someone used it just in their session, brilliant. But if you then presented it as part of a game, I think you're kind of changing the nature or something of it. You're kind of cheapening it in some way. No, or less woo-wooing it and becoming more product then at that point. And I suppose that's my problem with all the 47 stuff is not to turn it into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where you have Donatello toothbrush and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, they make money, man, have to survive, and people want them, they're like, I mean, maybe I should do a librarian toothbrush if people want them. Brush your teeth with the power of the master. New servitor, the dentist, get it on a toothbrush. Yeah,
he'd be too linked to suicide though. Don't dentists have the highest rates of suicide of any profession or something? So Yeah, no, I don't think you should do a dentist one.
No. Coming soon.
No.
The dentist razor blades. No, sorry. Yeah. And yeah, good to substantial T-shirts as well. I got part of Amazon invited into that, or not invited, accepted into that. And I went, great. That you have to make a case for why you should be. And then I didn't use it for 3 months and shut it down due to inactivity. And then I just emailed them and he went, yeah, grand, that's no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's it. That's all my news, really. I've nothing else. Turbine Syndrome t-shirt. Turbine Syndrome. Philly Fish did a lovely review of it. Mr. Halpin over in the Cult Book Review also did a lovely review of it.
Very good.
That's it. If you anything else you want to sell or talk about?
No. I'm reading a good book at the minute. It's called Pure and Simple. It on one of the Guru Viking podcasts with Daniel Ingram, he was writing about it. He's according to him, it's the best mindfulness. It's the best book about mindfulness meditation you'll ever read.
Right. Okay.
So it's on Scribd. It's one of those books. It's a bit like we were talking about him a few weeks ago. I Am That. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's it called?
Yeah, I Am That.
It's a bit like that in that it's lectures it's lectures or where she's talking to an audience. Right, yeah. But it's obviously it's been translated by someone who speaks American. So it's I like it that from time to time you'll get words in it like, and when this will happen in meditation, then you've screwed up. And I'm like, yes, I like it. This is a good way. This is a good way of talking. Yeah. And it's quite good. I have not long left to read in it now, so I'll do a review of it as well. But it's like I'm literally just going through it, and every second page I'm just highlighting paragraphs, highlighting paragraphs, because there's so much important stuff in it. Okay. And it's just about this one subject of mindfulness, and really, really good. Really good.
Don't send me. I was going to send me the link and put it in the show description. No, instead go to Spud's website and sign up for his newsletter, and then when his thing comes out, his review, you will read it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All I've been reading is John O'Donoghue stuff. Fucking devouring his stuff. Really like him. I didn't.
Yeah, he's lovely, isn't he?
We see my problem with him is when I was reading Adam Carr first, is he goes, "Oh, this is quite dry," and I'm quite sure that at some paragraph he's just going to go, "At the end of the day, it's all about Jesus," and he kind of does in one paragraph, and it kind of put me off. But then come back to my recent stuff and I've watched the YouTube video and he's really funny. I've gone, he must get that from the book. And then when you read the book, you go, let's. A lot of his books are transcriptions of talks, which is interesting because then when you hear them, it makes more sense in an Irish accent. Where he says something, all right, I know what he means, and he's so Irish. It's beautiful that he's just never even attempted to try and Americanize his voice or make him more appetizing to a foreign audience or whatever. It's interesting man. I like him.
He reminds me of let me get up here on Spotify. Oh no, where do you get my podcasts and not continue listening?
In your feed, yeah.
God damn it.
Anyway, John Moriarty is someone else has been. Do you know him at all, John Moriarty? He would have been. Tommy Tiernan did an interview with him on one of his videos years ago when he was in that walking tour of Ireland. He's quite good. He's a bit mad too. They're all mad. I like Irish people. They're mad. They have a madness to them. There's a wildness to them.
Oh yeah. See him now. Get the funny hair. Yeah. Oh God, Strange Familiars is the podcast, and every now and again he gets on a monk called Brother Richard. I can't remember his surname. He's an Irish Benedictine monk, and I get a lot of John O'Donoghue from him as well. Right. And those podcasts are brilliant. He's so I've never heard anyone from the Irish clergy be so open about woo and fairies and what the Americans call them, the fae, and just general. They get called out to hauntings and what they do and kind of stuff, and
nice.
He knows it's just he speaks like openly about I know a good bit about Gnosticism because we all studied that and where this is right and what we would agree with and what we wouldn't agree with, and He's great. There's only one time where he gets a little bit angry. They start talking about
Nice. Awesome.
no, they're talking about Solomonic magic,
Right.
and he's like, well, he was getting quite animated. He's like, look, the problem with this thing is that you're binding something, and we used to do that as humans, and we called it slavery. And that's wrong. Yeah. You know, so you're making something do something against its own will to do your will. Like, so we have a problem with that. You know?
Demons' lives matter. That's it. Right. That's us. We've run out of time on Zoom twice, so we
Bye, everyone.
Go. See you next month. Is that the
Yeah.
Bye.
Adios. Bye.